Good morning and happy Hanukkah. Welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Thursday, the first day of Hanukkah, 25th day of Kislev. Last night we lit the first candle, and let's begin the shir with tzedakah. Gedele tzedakah shemekareves es hageula. Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. So today we begin chapter 3 in the Tanya. We discussed in the first two chapters about the animal soul and the godly soul. We have the soul, which is animalistic, self-centered, looking to do what feels good. And sometimes those things that feel good are good things, but it's all doing about selfishly. Then you have the godly soul. And the godly soul, he says, is a whole new thing. It is a chelek elokam imal mamish, a literally piece of Hashem, piece of God in us. And this is something which is really cannot be described. We cannot understand exactly what the godly soul, because it's above us. Hashem placed himself in each and every Jew. However, we can understand the way it functions in us, the structure of the godly soul, the system, the way it works in the human being. And that's what the Alter Rebbe begins to explain. The faculties, the intellectual faculties, the emotive faculties of the godly soul. So he's going to begin by explaining first all of the faculties of the godly soul, the way it works in us. Later on, he's going to explain that there is corresponding to the godly soul, we also have the animalistic soul with all its faculties. And ultimately, we understand that there is the struggle between these two souls who fight over the dominion of our bodies. But right now, we begin to focus on the way the godly soul functions in us. And he explains that the way it is, you have the intellectual faculties which lead to emotive faculties. The intellectual attributes, you have within the intellect, there is the three parts of the intellect. Everything begins with the intellect. It begins with Chachma and Bina, which he focuses today. The wisdom and the understanding. What does it mean? The wisdom is the awareness of something. When you take in a new idea, even a flash of something you were not aware of, that's the Chachma. And then you have the Bina, is the understanding, the processing of that idea. And those lead to emotive attributes, to connect to it. And that leads to those functions of the godly soul lead to the person to fear of Hashem, love of Hashem, and doing the right thing. So let's begin chapter 3 in the Tanya. That's the Alter Rebbe. V'hinei kol bechina u'madrega misholosh elu nefesh ruach neshama klula meyasa bechines. Now each of these three distinctions and grades, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, consist of 10 faculties. Now the three distinctions, what are we talking about? We're talking about the soul. The soul in general has 5 levels to the godly soul. There is the nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. The chaya and yechida, those are the 2 higher subconscious levels of the soul. That is not something that we are aware of. It is subconscious, that it's not We're not connected with it in an open way. The other three levels, the nefesh, ruach, neshama, are levels of the soul that we are aware of, the conscious levels. Nefesh is the part of the soul that is connected with the action. Ruach is the emotive levels, and neshama was more the intellectual levels of the soul. Now, each of these three levels, they consist of 10 faculties. Now, those 10 faculties, they descend from the 10 spiritual attributes that God created the world with. Keneged esas spheres elyonos shenishtalshelu mehem, corresponding to the 10 supernal spheres, the divine manifestations, in which they originate and wherefrom they descend. Now, these 10 faculties that we have in the neshama is divided into two: the intellectual and the emotive, as we will soon explain. And the 10 sephiros are subdivided into two general categories. Now, he calls these two categories, he calls them shein sholosh imais v'sheva kfules. He calls them, these are the 3 mothers and 7 doubles. What is this talking about? This comes from the Sefer Yetzirah, the Kabbalistic book, which talks about the letters of the alphabet, the Hebrew letters. And in these letters, talks about there's 3 mothers, 3 foundational letters, Aleph, Mem, and Shin, and you have 7 doubles, 7 letters that are doubled. You know, there are letters that you have a dot in them, and you can have them without a dot, like, for example, the bet and a vet, the kaf and the chaf. With a dot, it's bet; without a dot, it's vet. So it has doubles. So you have 7 letters like that. Some of them we are aware of the different pronunciations. Some of them we're not so aware. So the 7 letters are Beged, Kaporet, Bet, Gimel, Daled, Chaf, Pei, Reish, and Taf. So these 3 mothers and the 7 doubles here is talking about in the letters, but this reflects the 3 intellectual attributes and the 7 emotive attributes. Now, the emotive attributes is doubles because those are emotive attributes. You can use them. They have the character, but you have the direction. Can go either way. Can go in a good direction and negative direction. So that is why he calls them, one of the reasons why he calls them the 7 doubles. And the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain. Pirush Chochma, Bina, V'das, V'shiva Semeya Binyan, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Chulu. Namely, Chochma, the wisdom, the Bina, understanding, and Das, the knowledge. They are called the mothers. And the 7 doubles are the emotive attribute, the emotional attribute is known as the 7 days of creation. 7 days of the building, 7 days of building the world, the creation. So each one, the 7 days of creation, the chesed, kindness, gevura, severity, tiferes, beauty, and so on. The other 4 being netzach, endurance, hod, splendor, yesod, foundation, and malchus, royalty. Now those attributes, as we go along in the Tanya, we're going to explain them more. But for today's lesson, we're talking in general about the fact that we have intellectual attributes and emotive attributes, and the emotive attributes are a result, they're birthed by the intellectual attributes. And that's what it goes on to explain. Just as the 10 supernal sephiros are divided into 2 general categories, so too with the human soul and its 10 faculties. They are divided into two general categories: the seichel, the intellect, and the midos, the emotional attributes. And he goes on to explain. Aseichel, koilel chochma bina v'das. The category of the intellect includes the three all-inclusive intellectual powers: chachma, bina, and das. As we said, the chachma is the awareness, the wisdom. The bina is the processing. The das is the connecting to what we process. V'amidos en avas Hashem upachda v'yirosa lefor chulu. While the midos, the motive attributes, which bear the same names as the corresponding seven spheres, chesed, gvura, etc., they represent the following emotions: love of God, dread and awe of Him, glorification of Him, and so forth. And now it says the intellectual attributes, they are called the mothers. Why? Because they are the source of the emotions. The Chachma Bina Das, Nikru Imei Sumakal Midas. Chabad, the intellectual faculties, they are called the mothers and source of the midas. Ki midas entail this Chachma Bina Das. For the midas are offsprings of, they derive from the Chabad. And he starts to explain this. Biureinian. Kini aseichel shebenefesh hamaskeles. Shu hamaskel kol davar nikra b'shem Chachma. Koyach ma. Explanation of the matter, meaning of the three intellectual processes described above: inspiration, cognition, and contemplation. You have the inspiration, the idea, the flash. You have the cognition, the cognitive. And then you have the contemplation. You contemplate what you process. So the explanation is as follows: that intellectual faculties of the rational soul that first conceives any matter, meaning the faculty which produces the seminal point of an idea and the first flash of illumination, as explained above, Nikra b'shem Chachma. That is given the name Chachma. And the word Chachma in Hebrew can be read as two separate words, which is Koach Ma, which is composed of two words. Koach Ma, the potential of what? What does it mean, potential of what? It means in order to get an idea, you need to be nullified. You need to empty yourself of your own ideas in order to receive something, in order to be able to intake an idea. It's true in every area. I once visited the famous artist Baruch Nachshon. Spent with him a Rosh Hashanah 1984. And then after Rosh Hashanah, he sat down and he painted his art, and I spoke to him, and he said to me that this is when he likes to, the ideas he gets only at night, when it's quiet, when there's nothing there that disturbs him. Opens up for ideas. So the idea of Chachma, receiving a new idea, is when you completely put yourself aside and you allowed something outside of you to enter. So this is the Koach Ma, the Chachma. This is like the bridge to the subconscious. And then when one brings forth this concentrated idea from the potential into the actual, That is, when one cogitates with his intellect on the seminal point in order to understand the matter full well. Thus, when one cogitates on a concept in its length and breadth and delves into it very deep, as it evolves from the concept which he had conceived in his intellect, then it's nikra bina. This is called bina. Bina is that faculty which elucidates the detail of any concept and apprehends it full well and in depth. They, the Chochmah and the Bina, they are the very father and mother which give birth to love of God and awe, the yira and dread, pachad of Him. So so this is why also the Chabad movement is called Chabad. Lubavitch, Chabad, Alter Rebbe started this movement. Why? The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe once said that his father told him that in Yechidus, what he heard from his father, the Rebbe Maharash, what he heard from the Tzemach Tzedek, that the Alter Rebbe's work, the Alter Rebbe's mission was to reveal in every Jew the Chabad of his neshama, the intellect of the soul. Because we can live our lives, which most people do, live a life on an emotional basis. We act whatever we feel, whatever we see. We don't think too deep. In order to connect, in order to live a true life and connecting to Hashem, we need to reveal the deeper self. We need to activate the Chabad, the intellect of the neshama of the soul. And that is by studying Torah, by studying the Chassidus, by studying and understanding and contemplating and meditating about those things that we understand. And then it leads us to a whole new awareness of this world. So that is the beginning of this chapter 3. We'll continue Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Feiliche Chanukah. Don't forget tonight to light the 2 candles of Hanukkah.